Yes, suggestions? Speak up a little bit so they can hear you. Yeah.
In my research, even though it is about economic analysis, I have to gain knowledge or some support from other disciplines as well. They are like project management and then environment science, social science, and then yes,
So it's very interdisciplinary in its
very
construction.
interdisciplinary because in my research, at the end of my research, I hope to develop some like scenarios or some strategies to develop the value chain of marine ornamental fisheries. So before develop those strategies, I think it is better to get the like support from other disciplines because we have to interconnect social, economical, and ecological aspects when we are developing strategies to develop some ecosystem because it is a very sensitive one. If we only consider about economy as my discipline, so it sometimes it interrupt to the ecological system or something the social groups. So we have to interconnect all these aspects in my research. So I have to get support or some helps from the other all disciplines related to my study.
So how are you organizing it? Is it you reading up on all these disciplines or do you include people in your
Actually,
team?
when I start my research, I didn't have good knowledge about marine ecosystems, reef ecosystem, ornamental fisheries or something like that. I only came with the knowledge about business management and agriculture economics. So my supervisor advised me to learn something about marine ornamental fisheries, but not about ecosystem management or like something like that. But here, Dr. Tuhi, she is supporting me to develop those. Yes.
I know Tuhi very well. She's been working on a few of the projects.
And also my supervisor in Sri Lanka is she is also expert in environment economics and environment sciences.
Yeah.
So she is supporting from that sense, and I am doing my best regarding economics. And we all together develop this research.
Okay, sounds fun.
Yes.
Okay, what about you, ladies? My Finnish ladies.
Well, we discussed for the first question because the challenges are so complex and intertwined. That's why we need also the answers to be take all the different aspects into account.
Yeah.
But of course, also that need to be kind of, what do you say, like not too complex either, so that we do get answers right.
Yeah.
So that's maybe the question, and then we come to the next question: what disciplines would you include? And of course, that depends on what are the most relevant disciplines for the challenge in question.
Yeah. But we also talked, I think, like the most challenging is that there's like, if there's no, if it's not transdisciplinary. Like if it's interdisciplinary, like within the academia, I think it's maybe easier. But then this transdisciplinary, like with decision makers and like the academics, that's maybe the difficult. And what is missing, where the big gap is.
There we would need more interlock.
So who would you bring in when you move into the transdisciplinary? Do you add fields of knowledge, or what would you bring in if you move from the interdisciplinary to the transdisciplinary? We will get to these concepts soon, so if you are not familiar with them, don't panic. Yeah.
I guess in my project, I would bring the coastal zone planners.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be like in my project that I would need to bring them in. Yeah.
So they are one of your stakeholders and also important knowledge holders.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, what about you?
Yeah, for the first question, we basically said the same, that the complexity of the problem requires expertise in such a wide field that having different experts breaks down the problem and helps solve it. And disciplines we would include, we thought maybe like engineers, engineers or I guess like political scientists or
We didn't think of a
jurists,
specific
like
case or
experts in
project.
law.
Yeah.
Yeah, we weren't just yeah.
You're talking more general
Yeah.
level. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, and then we get to the last group here. Okay, I ask you now because she knows her project so well.
We discussed a lot of the same things, but since first of all, if we want to have like agriculture and grow seaweed in the ocean, we need seaweed experts, but that probably is. And then in order for them not to affect the other wildlife, we need experts, other marine scientific experts on the marine environment in order to not affect them. And then we need, for the economical part, we need experts on, or disciplines of the economic parts, since we talked about that the seaweed prices are quite fluctuating. And then since there is like this competition between native and migrant parts, like who wants to grow the seaweed, in order to fix that we would need both the native people and the migrants in order to sort of make like a collaborative farming instead of this competition. So you have like the native knowledge, and you have like the people who wants to grow them, but they just need the space that the native requires.
So there are very many. It's a very complex system. You learn everything about complex systems from Vera. So we are now sticking to the disciplinarity, and I just say so. I just need to go through this because I threw the interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary concept on you without clearly defining it. It's and if you talk to your professors, very many of them they don't see the difference between these different kind of definitions always. But monodisciplinarity is when I'm a agroforest person, and I'm very interested in increasing the production of a certain tree that is very good in keeping CO2 in the ground, because I want to get them out in Sahel. And the person here might actually be interested in how we ensure that there is more water in the system. Or here is a person who is more interested in the cultural consequences of perhaps bringing bringing new invasive species into an area. But they still don't have a common goal in any matter. They just happen to be there studying perhaps at the same university or studying in the same area. Here we move to the multidisciplinary thing. That's where we all have the same object. We all study the same thing, but from totally different perspectives. So I'm still studying the tree, and the tree there happens to be in the same forest, and actually the fox is very dependent on that forest that I'm studying, and we may actually meet out there in the forest, but we haven't identified the specific common goal, and the person who is looking into wood production may perhaps read my paper and see, okay, that species is actually having a better production despite having these big roots, so we may actually bring that variety into our woods. So you see, they are maybe working in the same realm, but they haven't identified a common goal. So, for instance, at Norwegian College of Fisheries, it's very multidisciplinary in the sense that we have lawyers, people working in like social sciences, anthropologists, biologists, managers, economics, and law, governance, and so on. But very few projects most of them are multidisciplinary. There are a few projects that we run for a certain period of time that may be then inter-transdisciplinary. Okay, here we get to the fact that the goal is common. So there is a common goal and we find the interdisciplinary group at the Norwegian College of Fisheries say, we want to look at the climate change effects of fisheries in the Barents Sea. So we start with network analysis and stuff, and we kind of bring in all the different aspects of governance, different species, or in this case the wood, it could be the marine ecosystem, to study. We have a common goal to understand the resilience of the Barents Sea fisheries ecosystems, or fish stocks. But then we see that we lack some information out there. We are only having surveys once a year, or I only have time to go into the woods in the spring. What happens during autumn? The same goes for the Barents Sea. I go there only once a year to do the surveys, but the fishermen have some additional observations and data. They've seen the blue whale several times. I have seen it only once. Okay, so then we bring our stakeholders, the other knowledge bearers on board. They may be traditional knowledge, it may be traditional knowledge, it may be the industry, it might be the people who live there, anybody who has the relevant knowledge and the interest in our project. And thereby it becomes transdisciplinary. What would you call what is cross-disciplinary? What would you call cross-disciplinary? It's very commonly used in Norwegian. We say tvärfaglig, and then you very often think its translation to interdisciplinary. But when I talk to Ferne Wixon, for instance, who is from New Zealand, she says cross-disciplinary is probably covering both inter and transdisciplinary. Mm-hmm. So please use inter or transdisciplinary, because then you're more specific. Okay, so then you also have the concept of participatory, and the participation can have very many different levels. And you can have people, and the participatory part is very often in citizen science, for instance. The participant is actually just providing data. I saw this fish or this plant, and I go on my mobile and I provide the researcher with data. There's hardly any interaction, except that me, as a researcher, I'm obliged to provide the information back and tell what the results were at the end. So if we look at this, the more here the kind of information is very connected to the wood, to the forest or wood production, and here they kind of work. There is kind of interaction, and the stakeholder has actually agreed also on what the problem matter is. Here we have a multidisciplinary project, but they bring some information from the stakeholders. And finally, you have a very kind of transdisciplinary, where actually I would say could be the managers asking the researchers for advice, and thereby they are calling upon us. And it's also a way of participation. But bringing the word participatory brings some confusion in our kind of multi, inter, and transdisciplinarity. So it's on a kind of different level on how the communication is provided. And in a transdisciplinary project, you can have these different kinds of involvement of the stakeholder. Yeah. I'm looking at. We need to. I'll just check if I have my. Yeah. So okay, get back. We go. I give you take a break, and we meet up at 1:15. Yeah.